You're watching City Channel 4, your window to our community.
So good afternoon. My name is John Kenyon, and I'm Executive Director of the Iowa City UNESCO City of Literature Organization, and I'd like to welcome you to the final day of our 6th annual One Book, Two Book Children's Literature Festival. We've had some amazing programs over the past couple of days, and we're excited to present today's program called Write Out Loud. So Iowa City is one of just 20 UNESCO-designated cities of literature in the world, so it's obvious that we take writing very seriously here. And as is fitting for a city of literature, the young people in our community are amazingly talented writers. Our organization wanted to find a way to recognize and celebrate these young authors, and so we created this Write Out Loud event. We asked students in grades 1 through 8 to submit one piece of writing. These are students from the Iowa City-Cedar Rapids corridor, really anywhere in Linn and Johnson counties. It could be a story, an essay, a poem, song lyrics, an illustrated story, pretty much anything that a child could put their mind to. And we had our partners with ACT here in Iowa City evaluate all of these pieces and select grade level winners in 2 different categories. The first category is called the right stuff, which is judged based on language, clarity, structure, and emotional impact, and from the heart, which is judged based on creativity, passion, and expressiveness. In addition, the folks from ACT identified other top students in each grade, and these students today will receive honorable mention recognition. This year, we received nearly 800 pieces of writing from students, so there was a pretty stiff competition to get these top spots, so you should all be very proud. Now, today is made possible by the support of many organizations, and there's my next step into my screens. The Community Foundation of Johnson County, from a fund established by Carolyn Brown and Jerry Zimmerman, ACT, US Bank, Iowa Public Radio, Daydreams Comics, and then for use of this facility today, we greatly thank the University of Iowa President's Office who helped us with this. I'd also like to make special thanks to Joshua Haveman and the team from ACT who read through all of these submissions and selected our winners. And now we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to ask Debbie Yarrow to come to the stage. Debbie is the coordinator for Any Given Child Iowa City, which is a community arts partnership with the Iowa City School District, and she will come to the stage to present our first awards. Debbie.
We're going to start with Iro Foliente from Woodwind. Iro? You can go right there. There we go. James Huck from Lemmy. Benjamin Sauter from Willowwind. Edmund Svoboda from Lincoln. Sonia Zhu from Borlaug. The Right Stuff winner is Willa Ullman from Lincoln Elementary, who will read and Willa is going to read the book Ostrich.
Ollie the ostrich was super shy. Whenever another ostrich would come near, Ollie would hide her head in a book. Much like other ostriches in her family hid their heads in the sand. Ollie was afraid that the other ostriches would not like her, so instead she imagined herself a character in many of the books who had courage, strength, and confidence and love for themselves, and all the other cool things that book characters have. When she read books like Olivia the Super Ostrich, Ollie imagined herself flying over a city, saving it from a terrible earthquake, or creepy aliens or bad guys. Or when she read books like Olga, the amazingly awesome ostrich. Ollie would dream of being as strong as Olga, who would wrestle alligators or live in the wild where lions, panthers, and all the dangerous animals live like pythons. Or when she read books like Olana, the outgoing ostrich, Ollie admired her ability to talk to everyone and everything, even Willa the whale, who only surfaced once in a while. One day, when Ollie was reading one of her favorite books, Olive the Great, a new ostrich, Oscar, came over to see what she was reading. "Hi, my name is Oscar. What are you reading?" At first, Ollie pulled the book so close to her face the words went blurry. "I'm so scared," Ollie thought, but then she remembered Olivia, Olga, Olana, Olive, and all of a sudden she felt very brave, strong, and confident. Ollie raised her head from the book and said shyly, "Hi, my name is Ollie. I'm reading Olive the Great. Do you like books?" Oscar answered, "Yes, I do," pulling a book out from his feathers, Orion outstanding. Ollie and Oscar sat the rest of the afternoon and read their books. Two book ostriches reading together as new friends.
Wow. Our From the Heart winner is Kiros Yufan Wu from Van Allen Elementary, who will read My Tree.
My tree grows hair. It needs a haircut. Winter comes. Cut, cut, cut. My tree is bald in the air.
Thank you, first graders. You may take your seats again. Thank you so much. Would our second grade students please now come to the foot of the stage? Adelaide Capps from Hoover Elementary. Ben Haynes from Lincoln Elementary. Carson Perry from Van Allen. Sam Perry from Van Allen. Ellie Wilson from Garner. And now our The Right Stuff winner is Rial Schreiber from Willow Wind School, who will read Snowflake.
Snowflake. A snowflake is as soft as a pillow, as quiet as leaves falling on the ground, as wide as milk. It floats like a balloon, then it lands on my nose.
Our From the Heart winner is Macy Michelson from Hoover Elementary, who will read Sarah and the Mean Old Dog.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Sarah. She lived by the woods. One day she said, "Mom, can I go to the park?" "Yes, hon," her mom said, and so she put on her boots, opened up the door, and went outside. But her neighbor's dog got out and disappeared, and Sarah didn't know. It was a clever, mean dog. When Sarah finally got out of the woods, there was a bush, and Sarah but just about walked past it. This clever, mean dog was hiding behind it. Right when Sarah walked past it, boom, the dog jumped right out to Sarah and bit her knee. "Ouch," she cried as the bite swelled up. The dog disappeared off into the bushes again. Sarah got up and continued walking to the park. When she got to the park, she limped over to the slide, climbed up the ladder, and slid down, and it put pressure on her knee and it hurt. Then she limped over to the swing. The same thing happened. And so since everything she did hurt her knee, she limped on home. Her mom was there. "Hi, honey. Did you have fun?" "No, I did not have fun. A dog bit me right on the knee," Sarah said. "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, hon. Here, let's go put a Band-Aid on that," her mom said. And so they went to the bathroom, opened up the cupboard, and got a Band-Aid and put it on her. "Are you okay, hon?" her mom said. "Yes," Sarah said. Then Sarah went on her porch and just watched the sun go by. Then she saw something moving in the bushes in her front yard. The same dog that hurt her knee poked out of the bushes and somehow said, "Sarah." Sarah was surprised. "You said my name, Sarah," Sarah cried. "I'm sorry I bit your knee. I'm lost, cold, and hungry. Please take me inside," the dog said. "I will keep you until your owner comes and gets you. I'm also going to call you Sarah Jr., Sarah said. And they all lived happily ever after.
All right, thank you very much, Debbie, and thank you to our first and second grade students. Already we're hearing some wonderful stories. So now, to keep things moving, I would like to welcome Amy Kortmeyer, Assistant Superintendent for the Iowa City Community School District, to the stage, who will introduce our next grade. Amy.
Our third grade honorable mention students are Sylvia Braffett from Horn Elementary, Sienna Brown from Mann, Lillian Cheney from North Bend, Mira Cunning from Willowind, Lydia Evans from Weber, Flora Lorian from Willowind, Alan Nass from Hills, Pranil Rastagi from Wickham, Madeline Seitz from Willowind, and our Right Stuff winner is Talua Prox from Willowind School, who will read Jade's New Friend.
Jade felt cool as she walked up to her attic room carrying a big box filled with all her things from her old house. She set her things down and started unpacking with memories flooding through her mind. She remembered the times when she used to travel and all the things she brought back. Chopsticks from China, a necklace that said Aloha on it from Hawaii, an Irish dancing dress from Ireland, a pair of leather shoes from Italy, a bracelet with ancient symbols on it from Greece, a painted fan from Spain, and a drum from Africa. They were all adventures she had with her mother and father until her mother caught Zika virus in Africa and died. She was so concentrated on everything she didn't notice her dad walking up the stairs to her room and told her it was time to go to lunch. He said they could stop at the bookstore to get a new book. When they got to the mall, Jade went to the bookstore and her dad went to Pasta Paradise to get lunch and her favorite dish, pasta bolognese. She started walking to the bookstore. She entered the bookstore, walking through the halls, then something caught her eye. It was a fairly small book with silver cursive lettering, and the title was Morania. She bought the book and returned to the restaurant. As they drove home from Pasta Paradise, Jade started reading the book. She read about a land called Morania and read about the animals that lived there, and soon it seemed as if she were there. When she felt the car stop, she was about to open the door when she looked around and realized that she wasn't in a car, for she was in a flying carriage pulled by two dragons. They just stopped near a tall castle with big iron gates that had vines wrapped around it. Then out flew hundreds of fairies wearing the same golden vines and the same green dresses with purple flowers, and in the middle of them all was Queen Esmeralda wearing a crown and a matching necklace made of pure silver and gold with emerald jewels on top. It was the most beautiful thing Jade ever saw. Esmeralda asked who was in the carriage in a stern but gentle voice. The driver said he believed that it was the princess that Queen Esmeralda sent for. When the door opened, they saw it was not the princess, and the queen demanded to know who it was. Jade told the queen her name, and the queen said she liked it. The queen said she was looking for Princess Rosetta and went back into the castle, leaving her necklace behind. Jade thought she must return the necklace to the queen. She picked it up and hurried into the gigantic castle, astonished by all the pictures hung up on the walls. She kept walking until she heard footsteps. She hurried and hid under a dining room table with a beautiful silk tablecloth and chairs edged with gold. As soon as the people left, she got out from under the table. She walked up the steps and she was amazed. Sitting in the throne was Queen Esmeralda. Jade gave the queen her necklace. The queen was very grateful and asked her to stay for the banquet. Then there was suddenly a thud. An almost silent thud awakened Jade from her daydream about fairies, crowns, and riding in a dragon carriage. She turned around, and there was a girl wearing a white skirt with a rose pattern on it. Her hair was blonde and in a fancy French braid. She was wearing a gigantic red velvet hat that had 2 large roses on it with golden vines. She said she was 5 years old. The girl also said she was Rosetta. Jade was so surprised that she met the girl from her dream. Then her dad stepped out of the car saying, "Oh, good, you've met your new neighbor."
Very nice. Thank you, Talua. And my apologies, I missed one of our honorable mention students, Natalie Ramsey from Gardner Elementary. And last but not least, our From the Heart winner is May Knights from Mann Elementary, who will read My Obsession.
My obsession. I love the way they walk on their toes. It is very soothing to me. Their whiskers twitch. They purr softly as I drift into my dreams. The gray tabby likes to knead on my armpit as I am falling asleep. The fluffy ginger cat goes limp when I pick her up, becoming a puddle of cuddle. The dark calico, very vocal. The long-haired brown tabby has a crinkled ear, signs of a past infection. They're adorable, hungry, playful and mischievous, curious, furry, and funny. I pet their soft, furry tummies and fill their dishes with kibble. When I'm supposed to be brushing my hair, I pet the cat. Dad says, "Put on your socks." I pet the cat. "Where's your backpack?" I'm petting the cat.
So I would like to now welcome Kingsley Botchway to the stage. Kingsley is a member of the Iowa City Council and also serves as the Iowa City School District's Director of Equity. So Kingsley, come join us.
The 4th grade honorable mention students are Brooke Chandler from Borlaug, Thomas Fowler from Penn, J.L. Herrera from Twain, Dania Hussein from Coralville Central, Hayan Kim from Borlaug, Cage Larson from Lemmy, Lily Lum from Hoover, Hannah McCulloch from Penn, Owen Ruth from Twain, Alex Yu from Lincoln. And our The Right Stuff winner is Caden Huntley from Willowin School. And they will read Journey on the Prairie.
Hi, my name is Caleb. My friends, David and Mac, and I love to go on adventures. This will be our biggest one yet. We're going to explore the new Iowa Territory prairie. The year is 1835. Everyone in town comes to say goodbye because we would be gone for a while. The next day, we cross the Mississippi River into the Iowa Territory in a canoe. Then we hike. We hike all day long. We finally get into the prairie. There are rolling hills with grass as far as the eye can see. We can barely see each other, the grass is so tall. That night, when sunset falls, we set up our camp next to a bur oak tree. In the morning, the noise of animals wakes us up. The weather is chilly today. It is fall, and that worries me. Winter is coming soon. We have to prepare. I recall my grandma saying, "In the wild, you can conquer anything." We set out to find food. Then we see the animals. Lots of them. A herd of bison is nearby. Near the bison, a flock of prairie chickens await and ducks fly over. We decide to hunt the bison because we can use it for a lot of things. We managed to kill a bison. We used the fur to make a warm blanket and dry the meat to last a long time. A gush of cold air sweeps past us. That was just another sign that winter is going to start soon. We return to our camp and go to sleep. The next day, snow starts to fall. It is winter, and now we really have to think about how to survive. Our teeth chatter as the temperature drops to -10 degrees. We eat some bison and find that our water is frozen. We have to break the ice. We put a chunk of ice in our mouths and it melts. We write in our journals for the next few days. Then one day we realize we are running low on food. Likely we will be out by the next day. A blizzard is coming, but I am forced to go out and hunt anyway. I kill some prairie chickens and head back to camp. With the blinding snow and tall grass, I can't see where I am going. A huge blast of snow overtakes me. Everything goes black. The last thing I see is our camp in the distance. Caleb, I open my eyes. David is calling my name. I'm lying face down in the snow. I force myself up. David, I scream. A figure outlined in the snow comes toward me. David helps me to my feet and we walk to the camp. Mag is there. She gives me some food and I scarf it down. "We've been looking for you for days," Mag explains. "We don't have any food or water." "I have a little left over from what I killed when I was gone," I say. We cook one of the prairie chickens. The next day, the blizzard has passed. Over a few days, the snow melts and we are able to go out hunting. We find a bison and kill it. For the next week, we eat as we've never eaten before. We decide we need to head home. When we have enough energy, we pack up everything and start walking. We pass the border of the Iowa Territory, and this time, we cross the Mississippi River on foot over the ice. Finally, we see our town in the distance. As we begin walking up the main street, a huge crowd gathers. Everyone screams with joy as when they see us. It turns out they thought we were dead. We share what we wrote in our journals while we were gone. Everyone found it very interesting and thought we should let the governor of our state know about it. We traveled to the state capitol and met with him. He said we had discovered very interesting information and asked us if we would go out to a new territory. He said we would consider it, but knew we would have to be better prepared for winter. Years have passed since we had these adventures, but now I know my grandma was right when she said, "In the wild, you can conquer anything."
All right, our From the Heart winner is Rob McMurray from Hoover Elementary. Who will read Susanese Temple.
Rob was an archaeologist who worked in Egypt. He loved Egyptian artifacts and studied them a lot. Today he was on an archaeology dig in Cairo. Rob and his team had found a new temple in Cairo, so they were digging around it for artifacts. Rob said, "My shovel hit something. I dropped to my hands and knees and started to dig. I slowly but carefully pried the piece out of the ground. I brushed off all the dust and looked at my discovery. It was a statue of Anubis, the god of death. The next day, the team went off to the lab and studied the piece. When they finally started examining fingerprints, they found it was touched by Susini. It was a wood figure, and it had a lot of patina. Patina is when a figure is touched a lot and the oils on your finger make the wood a darker brown. If you're an archaeologist, patina is very important because it means many ancient people have touched the piece. This statue was very important because it was the only wooden statue of Anubis found today. Then they noticed the temple was probably Susini's temple. They quickly jotted down some notes and headed home. Rob said, when I got home, I was thinking, who built the temple? What was it made of? Why was it there? Why was it right next to a tomb? I decided to eat dinner and head to bed. I was tired. Today we had gone to the lab and worked in the blazing hot sun of Egypt. I closed my eyes and dozed off to sleep. The next day, all of the questions were answered. When you're an archaeologist, you have to note your findings very carefully. So in my notes read, when we enter the tomb, the whole team exclaims, wow, the walls are covered in paintings. Even the floor has paintings. Our team ran out for tools needed from the lab. Rob drove his Jeep, grabbed the tools, and returned to the temple. The team took samples and read in the hieroglyphics. Then they walked into the next room, which was the Holy of the Holy. That meant the shrine was in here somewhere. When they saw the shrine, it was gorgeous. A small square, there was a statue of Amun-Ra, the sun god, with paintings all over it. When they walked into the last room, the room was decorated everywhere, and there was a couple of scrolls. It was time to leave, so the team grabbed some scrolls, got in their cars, flicked on the headlights, and zipped off. Rob said, when I got home, I was content. All my questions were answered. The creator was Usermat. It was made of sandstone. It was next to the tomb, so the tomb wouldn't be found. And I decided to eat my dinner and go to bed. I dozed off that night, and that night I had a dream.
Now, I would like to ask Lan Samantha Chang, who's director of the Iowa Writers Workshop at the University of Iowa, to join us, and she will introduce our next grade. Sam.
Our fifth grade honorable mention students are Ella Anneling from Coralville Central, Ruby Frank from Penn, Dahlia Garcia from North Bend, Jaden Kamfulanavong from Garner, Kale Kurtz from Lucas, Rice Long from Van Allen, Braden Marker from Alexander, Julissa Paz from Twain, Evian Smith from Lemmy, Tate Williams from Longfellow. The Right Stuff winner is Leela Strand from Lincoln Elementary, who will read Journey Across the Sea.
Journey Across the Sea, July 9th, 1892. Dear Diary, today, Mama, Papa, Patrick, and I started our journey from Dublin to America by boat. Patrick has had a cough for a while now. Mama and Papa were worried that he wouldn't make it through health inspection, but somehow he did. We share a cabin with 3 other families. You always hear the drone of the engine. It's so powerful that sometimes I feel like the power goes right into me. I can't stop wondering what the rest of our journey will bring. July 10th, 1892. Dear Diary, I got a glimpse of 2 dolphins when I was wandering around the ship, lost, trying to find our cabin. I got really scared that I was never going to find it. It's really hard to find. I mean, every door is numbered, but our cabin is so deep in the ship that the numbers don't help very much. When I finally found it, my reward was a room of metal. Everything smells of iron and oil. Even worse, someone had thrown up and Patrick was coughing up blood. It was very scary. July 12th, 1892. Dear Diary, a great sickness has come over our ship. Many passengers are sick, including Patrick, who is very bad. I'm so worried about him. Mama is also the tiniest bit sick. All day we heard crew members yelling and people talking about how they think everyone is going to get sick. This definitely does not raise our spirits. July 12th, 1892. Dear Diary, so many people are sick that Mama and I have to help tend to lots of them. Papa has to help the crew because so many of the crew members are sick. Everyone who's not sick has a job to do. Mama hasn't gotten worse, but Patrick is dreadfully sick, and I heard the doctors telling Papa that he should prepare himself for the worst. That can't mean what I think it means. Oh, I'm always crying. I really don't know what I'll do. I wish we were back at home. Even though the poorhouse was really bad, it was better than this. July 13th, 1892. Dear Diary, last night was the most horrible night. I don't want to think about it, but I can't think of anything else. There is nothing else. Patrick passed away from a disease the doctor called consumption. The tears won't stop. It wasn't just horrible for Mama, Papa, and I. Everyone in our cabin area was awake, pacing the hallways. Patrick was so young, there is nothing left. Mama keeps on crying. Papa is so very quiet. Mama, Papa, the doctor, and I were the only ones in the room with Patrick. He just kept getting worse and worse every hour. He couldn't breathe, kept coughing up blood, and just looked so awful. Then there was nothing. I don't understand how this could happen. I keep flipping through memories of him in my head. How he used to be the most annoying person ever, pulling my hair and singing stupid songs in my ears for what seemed like hours. I would get so mad at him and scold him so badly. Now I'd let him do it all happily, just to have him back. This doesn't seem real. It can't be real. I don't know what I'll do. I wish we never got on this boat. It sent us no good at all. July 15th, 1892. Dear Diary, we just saw the Statue of Liberty a few hours ago, and Mama has somehow gotten better instead of worse. There's hope they will let us go into quarantine rather than sending us all back. I keep on thinking about Patrick's beautiful smile, his laugh like no other. Then I look around. Everyone is torn and beaten down. And then there's the Statue of Liberty. Patrick's death has to be for something, right? It's not over yet, but maybe there is a chance of hope.
Our From the Heart winner is Zara Ahmed from Wickham Elementary, who will read Helping.
Helping. Drip, drip, drip. The rain splashed as Laura walked to the bus stop to meet her parents. Her backpack was full of homework and all she wanted to do was sleep. But she and her parents had to get to the grocery store. As Laura walked, she wondered why she had to go to the grocery store on Friday afternoon instead of playing like other kids. When she reached to the bus stop, she found her parents. They asked how her day in school had been as they boarded the public bus. Fine, I guess, Laura sighed. It could have been better if we didn't have to go to the store. Laura's parents frowned and then turned to talk to each other. The bus ride wasn't very long, and they got off in 10 minutes. They all walked into the grocery store. They placed vegetables into the cart and paid for them. Then they got onto the next bus. Laura watched as they rode past the other kids playing hopscotch and jump roping. She wished that she were playing with them. Laura and her parents got off the bus at the next stop and walked into an old building. There were many people sitting down on the ground inside the entrance. They looked hungry and tired. Laura kept on walking with her parents into a kitchen. Laura's parents started boiling the vegetables and putting them into broth. Laura decided to help by pouring the soup into bowls and placing them on trays. She finished off by adding a side of sliced bread to each tray. About an hour later, Laura and her parents brought the trays out to the people on the ground. They served and served many trays of food until Laura stumbled across a man. "Thank you for coming. We all really appreciate it," the man said as he smiled. Laura smiled back and said, "I'm glad I came." After everyone was served, Laura and her parents walked back to the bus stop and got on the next bus. They sat down and were quiet for a few seconds. Laura's dad broke the silence by asking her, "Are you glad you helped?" Laura smiled to herself and said no more than extremely.
So, moving right along, I now would like to welcome Iowa City Mayor Jim Throgmorton to the stage, and he will introduce our next grade. Mayor Throgmorton.
I'm going to say a few words. Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be here with you. You know, a few days ago, I delivered a State of the City speech for Iowa City, and I began it with a quote from a famous novel by Charles Dickens. "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times." And then I quoted the next 4 lines or so. So it's really a great pleasure to be here with some future Dickens and other great writers. I see the first honorable mention student is from my son's elementary school, Longfellow. Ava Cross from Longfellow. Would you come up, please? And now Alexis Maple from Penn. And Juliana Mascardo from Weber. Abby McNeely from Garner. Violet Mowry, also from Longfellow. And, excuse me, Chasey Pearl from Longfellow. Is that the right first name? Yeah. Okay. Excuse me. Anushka Saxena from Lincoln. Maya Swenson from Prairie Creek. Rigby Templeman from Lincoln. And last, Charlotte Windmill from Kirkwood. Okay, so the Right Stuff. Our Right Stuff winner is Sage Slessor from Prairie Creek Elementary in Cedar Rapids, who will read The Creature.
The girl's hands wrapped around a warm cup of hot chocolate. Outside, December winds flew around the city, freezing everything they touched. Snow started to fall. The girl looked out the window of the coffee shop, and far away the sun started to set behind the horizon, creating colors the girl had only imagined seeing. More people departed as day turned to night. Soon she was alone. Her brown hair fell in front of her face, and she tucked it behind her ear. She hopped off of the chair and listened to her boots click against the floor. The old woman behind the counter waved her away, and the girl stepped into the winter night. Up above, bright stars filled the dark sky with light. The girl sat on the bench and pulled mittens over her cold hands. Chilled winds brushed against her skin, but something caught her attention. Across the street, in a dark alley, 2 eyes glinted in the moonlight. They stared at her. The girl sat still, afraid to move. Frozen with fear, she mustered, "Come out." The creature stepped out of the shadows. The girl gaped at what she saw before her. Giant paws sunk beneath the snow with claws like talons. Fangs like daggers shot out of a mouth dripping with slobber. Long, tangled fur covered every inch of its body.
The creature had long legs and broad shoulders, and those eyes made the hair stick up on her arms. A chill ran down the girl's spine. She was more cold than ever now. The creature sat there in the quiet street examining her. It started to move. The girl shook with fear. Her teeth were chattering. The horrifying creature stood up on its 4 legs and took a step, and another, and another. The girl's hands clenched the sides of the bench. She was still too afraid to move. The creature licked her, a big slobbery kiss on the cheek. She let go of the bench and stood up. The creature wasn't horrifying at all. Its eyes now looked like big chocolate chips. She reached out and touched its smooth fur. The creature nuzzled its nose into her arm, and the girl wiped the slobber off of her face and embraced it. A warm feeling filled her heart. That night, the girl walked home with a lovable creature running alongside her.
Okay, and our From the Heart winner is Kento Yahashiri from Longfellow Elementary. And Kento is going to read from poem.
Once, in an uneventful yet peaceful time, there was an artisan with a cape of lime. Born in France without a chance, a man from the class in the middle lost everything but a fiddle. Despite his guaranteed fame and social class, his respect was that of a lass with sass, with no class. So he journeyed west in search of fame, not wanting to be full of shame. He traveled wide and traveled far. In Portugal, found a broken car. In Spain, found something that made him hoot, a junkyard full of shimmering loot. Metal scraps and loads of wood. Being an artisan, this was really good. Crafted a mansion he did with time, installed his very own door chime, went back to France where he was showered with chants, earned his fame with creativity. You know we can do that too, you and me.
All right, so next up, I would like to welcome to the stage Georgina Dodge. Georgina is the Chief Diversity Officer and Associate Vice President at the University of Iowa, and she will introduce our last 2 grade levels. Georgina.
Thank you. Langle Charles Carlson from Southeast. Kiva Meeks Mosley from Southeast. Julia Stahl from North Central. Maria Volkman from Southeast. Ferguson Ward from Southeast. And our Right Stuff winner is Sarah Bunyan from Northwest, who will read Page Turner.
I hereby find Marcus Taylor guilty of damage to books of the 1st degree. I sentence him to an eternity of deterioration. Court is now adjourned. The sound of his gavel lingered through the air as I bombarded my lawyer with the questions that were gnawing at my psyche. What's deterioration? What does he mean by eternity? Paisley, what does he mean? Paisley! Calm down, Marcus. Take a deep breath. No, don't tell me to take a deep breath. Tell me what's going to happen to me. Paisley, my lawyer, closed her eyes slowly before she revealed my fate. A fate I didn't dare to comprehend on my own. You've been sentenced to an eternity of deterioration, which means that you'll spend the rest of your existence in prison. My breath hitched in my throat, and I froze like a statue in my chair. I didn't process Paisley's words until I was escorted by 2 brawny men equipped with tasers out of the courtroom. I could have stood on my own, but I was too shocked by the decision. I frantically scanned the courtroom for Jade, the love of my life, or ex-love, I should say. She's watching me being dragged with a disappointed look on her face, eyes cold, body rigid. How can she just sit there and not say anything? My hands were shaking involuntarily, and the twitch in my eye had gotten worse. I started to hyperventilate because I knew what this meant. I knew that my inevitable fate was not going to be a good one. I knew that my time being a reckless teenager was over. I mentally cursed myself for being so stupid, so immature. Everyone knew that if you destroyed a book, the book would destroy you in a way that felt like an eternity. That is, unless you found a way to stop it. 2 days earlier, I inhaled the cool night air as I opened my bedroom window and swung one leg out, straddling the frame. With my backpack in one hand and flashlight in the other, I made the 5-foot drop to the ground. Without missing a beat, I took off across the lawn in full speed. When I made it to the forest line, I slowed down to a light jog and finished and shined my flashlight into the dense forest. I came to a complete stop once I was surrounded by dark green figures swaying in the wind. I started to gather wood for a fire I was about to create. I positioned my flashlight between my teeth and squatted down to remove the lighter from my backpack. With one stroke of the thumb, there was a medley of colorful flames before my eyes. I lowered the lighter to the dry kindling and watched a sheet of flames rise like the sun. As the fire grew, I took a seat on the rocky ground and removed the book from my backpack. I turned it over in my hands several times while having an internal debate with myself. I know what the punishment is for damaging books. They call it the eternity of deterioration. Probably something to scare us kids into treating books with respect. You see, centuries ago, books had some sort of magical importance. They preserved Earth, which made with magic from the jade rock, or something like that. This book I now hold in my hands is special because it tells the history of the jade rock and how it helped Earth, and that's exactly why I'm burning it. This now reminds me of Jade, the most beautiful girl in the world, and how she broke my heart. Let me explain. I had just arrived at the library to check out a history book about the jade rock for a research paper that was due the next day. The first thing I saw were her eyes that beamed an alluring green color. She was decked out in green earrings, a green pendant, and of course, a beautiful off-the-shoulder green dress that fell right above the knees. I gathered that her favorite color was green. She was standing behind the information desk assisting another customer. As soon as the customer walked away, she started to twiddling with her fingers. I strode right up to her with all the confidence I could muster and looked her right in the eye, or forehead, I should say. When she caught my stare, she flashed me the biggest, most genuine smile I've ever seen. I then lost all my confidence, looked down at my feet, and started to blush like a madman. After seeing her up close, I was completely and utterly mesmerized. I didn't believe in love at first sight until that very moment. Could you show me where I could find a history book on the Jade Rock? She could probably tell that I found her attracted by the disjointed words that had just left my lips and the strawberries that had made a home on my cheeks. Not to mention the fact that my eyes didn't leave the ground, an absolute indication of how embarrassed I was. She chuckled and began to type in my request on her keyboard with her fingers, that were in fact painted green. Sure, right this way. I followed her to the section dedicated to history books and watched her thumb through the shelves until her fingers came to a stop. She handed me the book, but I was too distracted by her name tag. Jade. Her name was actually Jade. How fitting. I finally had the confidence to meet the green orb she had for eyes. I started to smile uncontrollably, which made her smile, and this time I didn't look down or blush or say something stupid. One book, one girl, one prison sentence, and the rest is history.
And now, our From the Heart winner is Lachlan Krupa from Southeast Junior High, who will read 24 Years.
I sat in the tree, admiring the gentle curve of the branches. What I would give to be that tree, to have no brain, to feel no sorrow, to simply live. Unfortunately, it's impossible, because my name is Jack Doran, and I'm about as human and untree-ish as a 12-year-old boy gets. I haven't seen another human in almost 4 months. I do get lonely, but I have a dog and get along fine. My dog's name is Rover. Okay, I know it's lame, but I was 6 when I got him, and I couldn't think of a different name. I am tall and lean, with broad shoulders, long scraggly black hair, blue eyes, and a supposedly brilliant smile that I don't use much anymore. It started back in 2065. I sat with my mom in our living room, looking out at our window and watching the sun rise above the grassy hills of Antarctica. It was a great place, but was, and is, not permanent. In 2065, we had 25 years to get off the planet before Antarctica became a dead wasteland like the rest of our once habitable planet. All the people on our planet had settled there, about 5 billion, so you can imagine it was a pretty crowded place. I thought that on the other side of Earth there must be another place like ours, some place with grass and trees, but if there is, I will never know because of the thousands of miles of wasteland separating us, where temperatures can reach 220 degrees Fahrenheit. 1 year before, in 2064, the International Committee for the Preservation of the Human Race, ICPHR, sent out a desperate plea for help into space, in the hope that some other race would receive it and help us leave this planet in some way. The good news, someone did receive the message. The bad news, they had no intention of helping us. In June 2065, I decided to take a walk. I exited our back door and strolled down the foot-trodden path through our neighborhood. Houses were packed so tightly together that there was barely enough room to squeeze between them. I walked to the edge of our village, if you could call it that, with the next residential area in plain view about half a mile away, the cob walls of the buildings flashing in the rising sun from the glass embedded into their walls. I explored in the small area separating the villages. I found the cave where I always hung out, a small opening in the ground sheltered by a willow tree. It slanted steeply downward until it leveled out for about 10 feet and ended abruptly in a wall of stone. I sat my back against the stone wall, using a candle to make out the words of the book I was reading. Suddenly, I felt a tug in my gut, and I shot upwards toward the top of the cave, about 10 feet up. I smacked into it so hard I could feel my brain vibrating inside my skull. I kept sticking to the ceiling, almost as if someone was trying to pull me through to the other side. Every inch of my body was vibrating from the tension. As suddenly as it started, it stopped. I fell to the ground, my body spent. I lay there for what? Seconds, minutes, hours? I couldn't tell. All I remember is getting up and making the slow ascent upwards. I don't know how, but I knew this hadn't happened to just me. As I reached the surface, the sun had fully risen, and I was met with a sight that will haunt my dreams for years to come. Everything was the same. The dogs were roaming in backyards. There were still birds flying in the sky, and yet it still seemed wrong. It was too quiet. No sound of children squealing over some new discovery, or the sound of adults laughing at the endearing way their children played. Then I noticed the holes. In most houses, there were 2 or 3 holes through the straw tops. I noticed something on the horizon. It was a small black speck flying away into space. They had been taken. Every human on Earth had been taken to be used for the unknown purposes of another people. I was too shocked to cry. I ran back to our house and buried my face in Rover's fur, the only living thing I had left. So here I am, alone on a soon-to-be inhabitable planet. The year is 2066, and I have 24 years to live. My family and my species were literally sucked into an alien hovercraft. Is it just me, or does my life sound like a joke to you?
We'll start with our honorable mention students. Fariha Ahmad from North Central. Natalie Kaiser from North Central. Rachel Meehan from Southeast. Celeste Obara from Southeast. Aiden Spaghettis from Southeast. And the Right Stuff winner is Reese Yang from Northwest Junior High, who will read Crocodiles and Alligators.
It was late at night. Shadows drifted across my bedroom wall and an eerie breeze drifted through. Downstairs, the light flickered. I lay in bed pretending to sleep, but what I was really doing was listening to the conversation my parents were having in the living room with the police. The license plate on the car that was spotted at the crime scene matches her son's. Where has he been today? The police officer asked my mom. I don't know, my mom stammered. He left early in the morning, but he never said where he was going. One of the officers sighed. Look, it's late. We'll come back tomorrow to contemplate this case. In the meantime, if you have time, please talk to your son. My father thanked the officers, and soon there was a tremor as the door closed and the sound of the police car outside started up and left. There were footsteps coming up the stairs to my room. Suddenly, there was a figure in the doorway. It was my father. Almost inaudibly, he tentatively whispered, as if he were scared of me, "Ollie, who are you?" And I couldn't help whispering back, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it." With that, the figure disappeared and the light downstairs went out. It was obvious that my father was not cynical that I had done it, and at that moment I decided I had to leave. The stars light my escape as I run through the city's alleys, leaving my home behind. Occasionally, police cars' sirens sound in the distance, looking for the culprit of the biggest murder case in the city ever, me. I duck behind the shadows when the lights come near, but the sky is already brightening as dawn approaches, and I know that soon there will be no place to hide. I duck into an alley to catch my breath. Suddenly, a fist strikes me out of nowhere. I try to scream, but a gag fills my mouth before I can. Then another fist collides with my head, and everything goes black. I awake to the sensation of cold metal pressing against my neck. The world spins into focus. I am standing in a dimly lit room, facing 3 masked figures. I realize one of them is holding a knife to my neck. Well, 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 Oliver, we have heard a lot about what you did yesterday, one of the masked figures says. What do you want? I ask insolently through my gritted teeth. The same person responds, We are the Crocodiles, a criminal organization. We want your skills. How you accomplished the assassination, it would help us a great deal with our business, and you would be handsomely rewarded too. Will you join us? What has happened to me in the past hours was very hard to believe. I had done some very bad things, and now even a criminal organization wanted me to join their conspiracy. I can either live a life of crime or end it right now. I say no. The knife cuts my throat and I die.
And now let's welcome our From the Heart winner, Cora McClure from Southeast Junior High, who will read The Wild Mustangs.
Joanna stepped out of her grandma's old faded blue pickup truck. The mountain air smelled of pine trees, and the sun was shining a glorious gold in the perfect blue sky. She had come to live with her grandma for the summer and was excited to see her grandma's horse. The house was a classic Victorian-style farmhouse with a barn and a couple acres of land behind the house. Her grandma used the acres to ride her horse, Phoenix. "I'm so glad you came to stay with me. Why don't we get unpacked and fed, Joanna?" her grandma said with a smile. "I missed you too, Grandma. I'm excited to be here," Joanna explained with an exuberant grin on her face. They headed up the steps and into the house. By the time they had finished unpacking and eating dinner, it was late and they decided to go to bed. The next day, Joanna decided to go exploring on her grandma's land. She found herself wandering through a field that was towards the edge of her grandma's land. The landscape was beautiful. There was a small pond in the distance that shimmered a lovely blue in the afternoon sun, and lush green grass that covered the ground. The trees all seemed to be different shades of green and brown, and were tall and sturdy looking. Patches of purple and yellow wildflowers grew along the border of the pond and in the grass. The sight was breathtaking. Her stomach started to rumble. She was glad she'd brought a couple of apples since she was getting hungry. She turned around and was about to head home when she heard pounding noises that were getting closer and closer. When she turned back around, she was shocked to see a herd of wild mustangs. They seemed oblivious of her and obviously didn't deem her a threat, since they were grazing 10 or so feet away from where she stood. She was staring in awe. They were an assortment of colors: pinto, roan, chestnut, buckskin, cremello, black, every color you can imagine. Some grazed quietly, eating the lush green grass, while others playfully chased each other around. A mare was affectionately nuzzling her foal. Their coats shone as the sun shined down on them. Joanna was astounded. Wild mustangs almost never came this close to civilization, much less than a few feet away from her. Joanna wanted to get a closer look at them, but before she had a chance to step forward, the mare and her foal came towards her. She held out one of her apples, and after a few moments of hesitation, the mare took a tentative step forward and gobbled it out of her hand. Joanna laughed. The mare was even more beautiful up close than she was from afar. She was an attractive black and white pinto with the blaze running down her face. Her black mane blew lightly in the wind. Her foal was just as breathtaking, except instead of a blaze, it had a star. Joanna looked around. The other members of the herd were gathered together to graze quietly. The mare nudged Joanna with her muzzle. She fed her another apple and tentatively reached out her hand to pet her on the neck. The mare liked it, leaning into her touch. Joanna smiled to herself as she realized that these wild creatures were some of the most amazing beings she had ever seen. As it was getting late, Joanna realized that she had to go home. As she started to leave, she turned back to see the mare and her foal walking leisurely back towards the herd to graze some more. Joanna couldn't wait to get home and tell her grandma. She swore to herself that she would return soon, with her grandma perhaps, and hoped that the Mustang herd would be back.
So Iowa City, this is our future for the City of Literature. As I say every time we have these events, people always ask me about, the City of Literature. How do we sustain it? Are there always writers coming into town? It's like, we don't need writers to come into town. We have writers living in town right now. We have amazing young writers living here among us. And so thank you to all of you for continuing to write, continuing to succeed and excel. And please continue to do that. We have a high school essay contest where we give 1 year of free tuition to the University of Iowa to the winner. It's for high school sophomores. And my great hope is that one of these days when we have that contest, I'm going to recognize the name of that winning student because we've been giving them prizes all along at this event. So thank you, guys. And so I would also like to thank our sponsors one more time. Without them, we could not make this weekend happen. So we have the Community Foundation of Johnson County, ACT, US Bank, Daydreams Comics, Iowa Public Radio. We'd like to give a special thank you to the area teacher librarians and the principals and the classroom teachers who helped us to get word out about this event and about the festival in general, encourage their students to submit their work. So if there are any here with us today, thank you. And if they are not here, go back and thank your teacher librarians and your principals and your teachers because not just on our behalf, but on your behalf as well. They do a great job to help you. I'd also like to thank again Joshua Haveman and his team at ACT for all of their hard work in evaluating all of these submissions of writing and helping us to select these amazing pieces by these wonderful writers, as well as to the dozens of volunteers that helped us throughout the course of the weekend. And with that, I would say thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting the young writers in your life. Please continue to do so. And with that, I'll send you on your way. Enjoy your Sunday. Thank you.
You're watching City Channel 4. On TV, online, on demand, on Facebook, and now on the go on your mobile device.